Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Gators go down in Tuscaloosa last night. Boy, what a basketball game. Had a chance to win it. Give Alabama credit for finding a way to win, but two excellent basketball teams that will make some noise in March Madness. There's no question about that. I love this basketball team that the Gators have for sure. Baseball wins the last two nights over North Florida, and softball also takes down the Ospreys yesterday. Again, if you want to text the program, give us take them our text line, give us a text at 352-353-7465. Today's program will consist of Brent Beaird, our college football analyst, and we'll also talk a little Baker Sporting Goods high school roundup, deep into the high school playoffs in basketball, and baseball and softball has started. So we'll talk with Mike Ridaught from the prepzone.com in the second portion of today's show. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, and we are joined by our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. Doing well, just trying to keep up with everything, which is not easy. I do want to say quickly, a few teams in the SEC have improved as much as Florida. And Florida is great. Look, Florida at this point, if they keep on improving, I mean, they've got I think potential to be a Sweet 16 team. They've got bigs who know how to play. They've got two of the better guards anywhere. And you put all that together, and with the improvement that they have shown, and that is a very, very good basketball team right now. And Todd Golden, I don't know if has gotten enough credit for what he's done with this team.
Yeah, they're outstanding. Corey says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, the men's basketball is really good. It will only move into the great category when it quits blowing double-digit leads in the second half. See, you're giving Alabama no credit there. How many teams are going to make runs? Just because you build that lead doesn't mean you're going to contain that lead.
Yes.
So I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Alabama does not lose at home, never. And Florida took it to them, just came up short. A couple of people asked here about Riley Kugel being on a short leash. Look, y'all know how I feel about it. I have nothing against him personally. I don't think he's a very good basketball player. He may jump high and defend, but Todd Golden sees the same thing I see, and I only watch the games. I put my coaching hat on. He's not as good as the other players on this team. I don't. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. But it was a tremendous game. Give Alabama credit for finding a way to win. Sears hit some big shots down the stretch. That's why he's has a chance to be SEC Player of the Year. Brent, speaking of college football in Alabama, Nick Saban says he's going to try to help bring college football back.
I think this is a part of his retirement. Is he has been talking to some of the movers and shakers in college football, and part of what he, regardless of what people think about Saban, he cares about the game. He wants the game to be better, and and really toward the end of his career, he became one of these guys that they would go to for a soundbite on improving the game. So I think what you're hearing from him is just that. I'm not saying he's going to be the czar or the overall commissioner or anything like that you hear of from time to time, but I do think he will be heavily involved. Obviously, he's got a role now with ESPN on game day, and he'll be really good with that. And he will I think behind the scenes do a lot of good, or give some common sense to some of these issues going on in college football. So we will watch that closely to see how he is used in helping the sport.
Yeah, we'll be all over the place today because we're getting a ton of text on the Technomar text line about basketball. Tommy in Savannah says, it looks like to me Florida's good enough to really make some noise in the tournament, but inconsistent enough to go away quietly. I think you can say that about anybody. I think Florida's good enough to make it to the Final Four. I really believe that with my whole heart. They have everything you want in place for sure. I don't understand why Facebook doesn't let me scroll anymore. Really ticks me off. All right, Brent, I don't know if I've been sleeping under a rock or not paying attention to what's going on, but correct me if I'm wrong. This year we will have a 12-team playoff, but they're already talking about now having a 14-team playoff, correct?
Correct. Well, part of this is looking out at the future. See, right now, the only thing we've got that we know of is they've got a plan for 24 and 25. Past 25, they don't have a plan yet. This is one of the reasons, among many, that they are meeting, and they will continue to be meeting. So they had a big meeting yesterday, and based on the thing that really came out of that was that they will have a new playoff format. They say in about a month, which will take them beyond 25. Now, when they met in Dallas, they were. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen immediately, but they are talking about, yes, believe it or not, expanding the playoff even before we start the 12-team playoff. The guy who really wants this is the Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti. That is something he really wants. Now, a couple of things that have come out of this, the 5-7 has been adopted, so we know that at this point. It took them a while to figure that out too, which means that your 5 automatic qualifiers, highest rated conference champions, and then your next 7 highest rated at-large teams. That's where we're going. Now, along with this is that there is no limit on rematches. I'm just going to throw this out here for if you're, say, Ohio State and Michigan could play in the playoffs before it's over, they can end up playing 3 times. And there's not a limit on that, okay? Regular season, conference championship game, and in the playoffs. That sounds odd, but that's the way it's structured at this point too. And I think the other thing that I'm hearing, I'm not saying this is fact. There's other speculation. If we have time, I'd like to go into, but that for the first time, it may actually in the next few years be an advantage for Notre Dame to shed their independence and get into a conference. And if they get into a conference, my understanding is that will probably be the Big Ten. So I'll pause here, but that's kind of what some of the things discussed among many in the meeting in Dallas with the committee and the conference commissioners.
Yeah. On YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Brian says, Shane, there are a lot of people talking about how DJ Lagway has removed his stuff off of Instagram. Some people are saying that he's going through the same thing that Jaden Rashada went through. Brandon, you heard anything? I don't know what that's even about.
No, I don't either. And look, that who knows? I mean, he could move it, and I'm not being disparaging with the post. Look, these guys are 18 to 22 years old. I've got 2 20-somethings and two daughters. That could mean anything. I mean, he could have found a better platform that he wanted to use and put his stuff on. I don't know, but frankly, no, I haven't heard that anything's changed and that he's going anywhere.
Yeah, me neither. I saw a note here about in college football, offensive production was down once again and has been going downwards the last 3 years of college football. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it really does. I give Dennis Dodd credit for this, and he did a kind of a story on the on where we are in terms of offensive production. Average scoring is down. I mean, look, it's not down that much. It's 27 points a game per team. Now, this is 131 teams that he's talking about here. The average yards passing is down. Total offense is down for the 5th consecutive year. Well, the reason, the obvious question is, why is it down? Well, it's down for several reasons. One is the rule change on first down has eliminated maybe a handful of plays, and this is something you predicted when this came into play, that it would only be about 5 plays. Some people thought it might be 10, but they've averaged out to about 5. And maybe the game has lost. In other words, it takes maybe 5 minutes less to play the game now than it did. So, it's nothing drastic. But what they figured out is, and look, you and I have been in this a long time, and we've seen this go around and around and around. And the reason that a lot of this stuff is down is the defenses are better. Some of the rules are being changed a little bit so that it favors the defense, but the defensive lines are better, and the defenses overall, like Michigan, win the national championship with the running game and defense. So you're seeing some changes with that overall. So if that makes sense, that's kind of where we are. But that's an interesting trend to look at, and will that continue?
Yeah. Reggie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. From his understanding, the money that DJ's getting isn't even from Florida Victorious. The dude's got a big check every month. He ain't going anywhere. Somebody else saw him in a Gator sweatshirt at Walmart yesterday. So I would not worry about that, whatever he puts on Instagram. Brent, the mileage that majority of the so-called teams that out west that are now in the ACC and the Big Ten, boy, hopefully the players get frequent flyer miles for these travel.
Really? Oh yeah. Someone has had the time to figure this up, and for UCLA, they're going to be traveling 22,000 miles. They figured out that this is like 90% of the way around the world. If you were going around the globe, it almost goes around the globe. California 20,000, Stanford 17, Southern Cal 13,000. In other words, Southern Cal has trips to Maryland, Michigan, and Minnesota, and when you add all that up, that's what it's going to be. Now, even Miami is going to have 12,000 miles. And that obviously their biggest trip's going to California on October the 5th. So, but Shane, that with the expansion, there are things they've got to deal with, and the mileage is going to be one of them.
Yes, for sure. This is a text on the Titan MR text line from Matt. He says, QB, heard you raving about Creighton yesterday. UF connection, Mike Miller's son, Mason plays for them, and Mike's brothers. Yes, for sure. We mentioned that multiple times. His son doesn't play as much as he did at the beginning of the year, but yeah, he's been there for a couple of years. I think he's a sophomore out there. Twan says the problem with Kugel is mental, not physical. He's shooting over 40% from 3, and he draws too much attention to sit a whole game, which I disagree with you, Twan. I think too many people get caught up in the whole athleticism and stuff. It's more to it than that. I just don't think he's good enough to break into the starting lineup. And you saw last night they played Denzel Aberdeen because they obviously trusted him more than Kugel. I just, like I said, I'm not at practice ever, but every game that I've watched this year, I just don't feel like he's not as good as the three guards that we start. Uh, I don't care how high he can jump and how much he can guard or whatever. That's my opinion, whether I'm right or wrong, but that's what my eyes tell me. Brent, a hot seat from a statistical point of view. You got a couple or someone has a couple of coaches on here, and our coach is on the list.
Yeah, there's no surprise about this. I mean, everybody does a hot seat about this time of year, and your typical candidates are Napier, obviously, Sam Pittman of Arkansas, Dave Aranda of Baylor, which frankly is a little bit surprising. I mean, they've been 9-16 the last 2 years. I still think Dave Aranda is a tremendous coach. Now, Dave Aranda is not he's pretty stoic. He's not a screamer and a yeller, as some guys are. And I still stand by him. But when you're 9-16 the last 2 years, that is concerning. Clark Lee of Vanderbilt is. The main thing for Vanderbilt here is they have spent or spending $300 million on football facilities, and they are making an attempt to be more viable in football. Hopefully, they will be. In his first year, he really did a pretty good job. But those are guys on the list, and we'll see various lists throughout the summer, and the guys we mentioned will likely be on all of them.
Yep, for sure. I didn't even realize this either, but Sean Elliott, who was an assistant at South Carolina when Coach Beaird coached there, took the job at Georgia State, did a pretty good job,
Yes.
I thought. He just resigned right when spring ball started and went back to South Carolina.
Right, he sure did. Yeah, yes, and you're seeing some of this that is going on. Now, there's two things with this situation that we need to mention. And look, Georgia State, because he left, actually postponed spring practice in the spring game until they got a new head coach. Well, what it looks like now is, and this could change, but Dale McGee, the running backs coach at Georgia, according to multiple sources, is going to be the next head coach at Georgia State. Now, McGee has done a really good job at Georgia. He's a pretty good football coach. So that door has opened up for him, and that may be settled in the next day or two. But we were looking at that. But no, Shane, you didn't misread that. Elliott left the team, and gosh, timing is everything, is it not? But I mean, he's leaving the team as head coach, going to South Carolina as tight ends coach, and based in the middle of February is what's happened. So we're seeing more and more of that now.
Tim says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal, last two basketball games up by 24 and lose. It's not the offense. I don't. We've lost. We've won 7 of our last 9 games. I don't know what you're talking about. Again, I think people who either haven't played sports or coach sports never give the other team credit. And you played the most dominant basketball team the last 3 to 4 years on their home court in the conference.
Well,
and they came back and won the game. I mean, give them credit. If you don't think this basketball team for the Gators is good, you need to go get your eyes checked. They are outstanding, and they're not going to win every game. I want us to win every game. I was not disappointed that we lost that game. I picked us to win on this show yesterday. And look, it's basketball. None of this matters until you get to March anyway. None of it. We're going to make the tournament. So that's all that matters.
Well, let me throw a couple of things in there real quick. And number one, Alabama's won an amazing 30 out of their last 34 SEC basketball games.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, this, and I can tell you this: we cover hoops a lot with our various platforms here, but this is look, this is the best Florida basketball team in years, and I mean years.
Mm-hmm.
They're much better than when White was there, and Golan has done an incredible job this year. So all that to say, I hope Gator fans embrace this basketball team. They really need to do that.
Yeah, Twan, I understand we have fatigue down the stretch. Alabama fatigue down the stretch. I played high school basketball at a high level on a damn good high school basketball team. Look, I just sometimes you people need to take your orange and blue glasses off and credit the other team. Brent just gave you the stats of what Alabama has done in the Southeastern Conference. So anyway, Joseph says basketball's damn good. We were 10-point underdogs and went in there and took it to the end. How can you be upset about that? Yeah, you can't be. We held them way under their average scoring until the game went into overtime. So regardless of all that, back to college football, Brent. And we were speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan More hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. If you want to shoot us a text on the Titan More text line, it's 352-353-7465. All right, the SEC right now, we have 8 conference games. There's still more talk about going to 9. What are you hearing?
Well, where this came from is Texas athletic director Chris Del Conte had kind of a town hall meeting, and they brought up a lot of things. And during that conversation, Del Conte said that he thought by 2026 the SEC would go to 9 games. Now, this is not the official voice of Greg Sankey, and DeConte may have heard from Sankey about this, but that, and it looks like they'll be playing 8 games this year, of course, and then next year, and then maybe in 2026. Again, that's not official. We'll know more about that later. But they want to get more revenue. They want to drop one of the non-conference easy games, and this will make the tickets more attractive to fans by having another SEC game compared to playing a weak opponent. The other thing that came out of this from Del Conte was Texas and Texas A&M. He mentioned that he wants to try to get that game moved to Thanksgiving night. Now, the Egg Bowl right now is on Thanksgiving night, so that would have to be a little bit. Maybe they could do a double header or something like that, Shane. So,
Yeah.
but yes, that the nine game possibility came up again.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. A few more minutes with Brent Beaird. Brent, let's go around the league. Alabama's making a change at their play-by-play. I mean, Chris Stewart has done a lot for Alabama. He does basketball, I think baseball as well. He's filled in for Eli Gold, but are you surprised at this move?
Yeah, well, yes and no. Eli last year, because of Eli had cancer. He's in remission, thankfully, but his health has been an issue, and he did home games. He did not do road games. Chris did the road games. So now, unfortunately, what's happened is the university has come back and said that Chris is going to do all the games, and Eli will no longer be the play-by-play voice. So, look, he's done it for 36 years. I wish what they would have done was to have given him one more year, let him go out. And he made it real clear yesterday in a AL.com interview that the university chose not to bring me back. This is not because of my health. I'm as healthy as a horse. So it will be interesting to see if Eli ends up with another play-by-play job somewhere over the next few weeks.
And how old is he?
Eli is about 68, I believe.
Oh, I thought he was much older than that.
No. But look, in his prime, he was certainly one of the best that there's ever been. I mean, has he lost some of his fastball? I mean, you could say that to some degree, but still, he does a good job and would still do a good job for someone else.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the Gators have a new strength coach. What else can you tell us what's going on in Gainesville?
Yeah, that would be, and also Darnell Stapleton has been hired from to the NFL, the offensive line coach. Tyler Miles has been promoted with that too. Peyton Joseph, who is a 4-star, is 6'4", 315. Fort Valley, Georgia, is committed to the Gators. Someone did an interesting article on, is a Gator schedule the hardest schedule ever? And if you go by, I know you've talked about this, 9 of 12 teams are ranked. We've rarely ever seen that, which is amazing. So, but I still think they get off to a good start, or they're very capable of doing that, and maybe having a better season than people realize.
Yeah, for sure. Georgia has lost their running back coach and their wide receiver coach here
Correct.
recently.
Yeah, Kirby is going through what Nick Saban and other coaches have gone through. Is at some point you just lose some of your assistants, and Brian McClendon has gone to the NFL, and he did a nice job. Dante Williams came to Georgia from Southern Cal after Fran Brown accepted the Syracuse coaching job too. Now they brought Travarius Robinson over from Alabama, and if we mentioned earlier, if people are just now tuning in, Dale McGee, the running backs coach at Georgia, looks like he's going to be the next head coach at Georgia State. So, I mean, Georgia will be fine, but they're like everybody else. They've got to replace assistants, and all that will be done, I'm sure, over the next few weeks.
All right, let's not a whole lot else is going on around the league, but let's jump to the ACC. Where do Florida State and these teams that are still trying to get out of it, where do they stand right now, Brent?
Basically, what happened with this, the ACC last Friday got in touch with FSU, and they sent them a report, and in that report, it basically said that there was and they really kind of got the way the language was, and I won't get into legalese here, but the way the language was, it very well may be giving Florida State a loophole in order to get out. So I still think that's going to happen. At this point, they really are just negotiating the money so that the ACC can get some and Florida State will pay less. So now what I've also heard, and a lot of this is speculation, is Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, and Virginia are going to be, I won't say they'll be right behind FSU, but they were very interested in leaving too. So this is not just going to be FSU either. So we'll keep a watch on that and see where it goes. But that's really the latest. And frankly, again, behind the scenes, FSU is trying to negotiate this down as much as they can.
Yeah, for sure. Text on the Titan Mark text line for Frank. He was referring to, he doesn't like to complain about officiating, but the deliberate knee and elbow to the head of Condon wasn't called. A Bama player should have been disqualified. There's all kinds of discussion about that on Twitter. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like to get into the issues about foul calls because, like I said, a penalty in football and basketball can be called on every play if they want.
Absolutely.
Brent, got any nuggets before we get you out of here?
Yep, always got some different nuggets with things too. But by the way, if you're still wondering who the highest paid coach is, it's still Dabo Swinney, 11.5. Kirby is 10.7. Sarkisian is 10.3. Ryan Day is 10.2. And look, even Kalen DeBoer of Alabama is up there now, around the 10 million mark. Lincoln Riley and Mike Norvell are also around the 10 million mark too. And I'll hit some games. By the way, big games involving the Big Ten and the SEC coming up: LSU and Southern Cal, Texas and Michigan, Alabama, Wisconsin, UCLA at LSU is going to be an interesting game. Also along that line. So some other quick notes that we've got as I scroll through here. Kentucky is ex-Michigan signee Jaden Smith. He's outside linebacker. Looks like he'll be coming on the team. Trey Hawley, the LSU running back, is not denying any involvement in a February the 9th shooting. William Inge, who was on the Alabama staff and is now leaving for Tennessee. Also in Tyreek Chappell, the A&M cornerback, is withdrawn from the NCAA transfer portal during this time too. The shame of this, Shane, is we used to spend most of our time talking about the teams. There's so much other stuff going on right now. Unfortunately, our team reports, I don't like this, but it's just what happens, has to get minimized during this time of year.
Yeah, for sure. Brent, we had somebody ask on Facebook Live earlier, brought to you by Mellon Law. What's the latest on the renovations that are over there at the stadium, Gator Bowl, whatever the hell it's called now?
They're still trying to figure out kind of where it's going and get some of the details. They really are still hoping to get a deal done close. So all that is in transition at this point. I'll tell you another thing that people may not know a whole lot about is Florida State's renovating their stadium. And they're going to be real limited for their spring game. My understanding is for this coming year in football, they may be limited to about 50,000 fans because of the construction on the stadium. Tennessee's been going through this too with their stadium, but FSU Stadium is supposed to be done and ready to go for the 2025 season. They open 2025. Alabama comes in the opener. So that is their goal, is to have the stadium ready for that game.
Brent, good stuff as always, my man. We appreciate your time. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good. Can't wait, bud. Thank you.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Take a quick time out. Come back. You're joined by Mike Ridaught from Main Street Daily News and theprepzone.com. Talk a little high school basketball and baseball. You're watching, listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete, it's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Y'all got me right now. We're trying to get Mike Ridaught, having some phone issues. He can text, but he cannot make any calls. Very strange. So anyway, I will get to some of these texts and Facebook Lives that people have asked about here. And let me get to a couple of texts here on the Titan MR text line. This is from Jimmy in Naples. He says, Shane, I just don't understand how many bad calls we did or didn't get last night in the basketball game. Jimmy, I understand. You can't worry about it, especially when you're playing in somebody else's gym. You're not going to get a bunch of calls. But the kids played hard, had an opportunity to win it, just didn't work out. Give Alabama a lot of credit. They win a lot of games at home. It's crazy how many games they win at home. I mean, they've probably been the best basketball team in the SEC the last 3 or 4 years, believe it or not. And then if you missed it last night, Kentucky blows like a 14. Okay, we're going to sit here and talk about blowing leads. The great Big Blue Nation, the most historical basketball program in the Southeastern Conference, with the highest paid coach who has a lifetime contract with all the 5-star one and dones, blows a 14-point lead, and they lose on a last-second shot at LSU. Okay, so things could be much worse. Much, much worse. So if you missed that last night, that happened. Mississippi State continues to play really well as a team. Boy, look out for them as well. They're a team you don't want to face in the tournament either. They blow out Ole Miss. That kind of puts Ole Miss on the bubble as well. So, when we spoke yesterday or a couple of days ago, we said about 9 teams. Jimmy Dykes thinks 9 teams are going to get in. There's 2 teams that now kind of hovering on the bubble. That would be Ole Miss and Texas A&M. So anyway, Annie says Bella Sims backs out of the 500 free. Her time was number 1 in the nation. Instead swims 200 IM and wins at the SECs. Annie's our consultant for Gator swimming. And once their season's over, Anthony Nesty heads over to coach the Olympic team. We'll get him on. Swimming, it seems like, goes year-round. I get so confused with that. Brian on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, when is college football going to go to the coaches calling in from the plays from the sidelines through helmets? That is supposed to be happening this year. They just don't. Now, let me back up. I know some of the colleges that I deal with in my work are in the process of installing those, but they're not sure if it's going to go coach to the quarterback or if they're going to allow other players on offense or defense to have headsets as well. I would assume it's just going to be coached to the quarterback. But I still think you're going to see a bunch of signals because of the way offenses operate in college football nowadays. You have a certain coach who is signaling to that position. So when you watch the Gators play, we have 4 or 5 guys signaling. One's going to the quarterback, One is signaling to the tight end. One guy is signaling to the receivers, and one signaling to the running backs. And the quarterback just communicates with the offensive line what the play is. So, which I would hate to play in that kind of system, quite honestly, because I always wanted to be able to verbalize, or either me hand signal to my receivers, especially what the play is supposed to be. Because if I see something and the receiver sees something different or thinks something different, and you let a curl go and he runs a go route, it's a pick six, and there's miscommunication there. So Dan says Rothrock was the National Freshman of the Week for softball. She's going to be a stud, man. I'm really excited about the softball team. They'll get the bats going, but we finally got some pitching, and it should be a fun year. Going to be tough. SEC is no joke. Bruce Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Let's see here. We got a text here from Mike. He's trying to call in. So let's take a Zach, let's take a quick timeout. Let's come back. Apologize for this, but somebody also said that a lot of AT&T, I have AT&T, but I haven't tried to make a phone call yet today, so maybe that's the case, that all around the country, AT&T's having issues. So we'll take a quick timeout, come back. Hopefully we can get Mike and talk a little high school sports. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Sorry about that, Mike. I guess the AT&T, whatever's going on around the country, is not allowing him to make phone calls. So y'all got me. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, I see softball is using a smart watch to call pitches. Do you see other sports using technology like that? The helmets where you can see the play on the visor, for example. Yeah, I want to say they're starting that. I don't know if it's actually a watch, but it looks kind of like a watch. But I think that's what's crazy. Whenever we talked about the other day, with all the technology in every sport, that Jordan Spieth signed the wrong scorecard because he put the wrong score down. They're still using pencils to keep score, that they couldn't use some kind of app or something. Annie says, Shane, I was going to ask Mike, but do you think Palmer Walton plays D1 college basketball, or do you know where he's leaning? I think Palmer is going to end up playing at Santa Fe College. I'm very close to the Walton family. So that's what I am hearing. A word on the street. It's a couple of texts on the Titan MR text line. Again, that number for all you folks that don't watch the program and just listen and always want to send questions or comments is 352-353-7465. This is from Bob. It says, when does spring football start? Ooh, I want to say in 2 weeks. Somebody probably knows. I should know that. I apologize, Bob, but I'll have that answer for you tomorrow if somebody doesn't answer today. Another text on the Titan MR text line. This is from Sheila. Sheila says, Shane, why do you follow softball so much? It's a great question. So Tim Walton, his wife Sam Walton, good friends. Say that one more time, Zach. April 12th through the 14th. That's when we. Oh, no, they want to know when practice started. Yeah. All right. So the Waltons, when they moved here, when Tim was hired 17 or 18 years ago, his son and my son, his oldest son, Brooks Walton, and my son were the same age. I coached them in flag football, in baseball, and YMCA basketball. Got to know them very well. And then we go to a lot of the games. Went to Oklahoma City twice. Both times I went, we played for the national title in the series against Washington and Arizona State, and we lost both times. So I will not go back. I'm not allowed to go back. So that's why in softball, man, if you've never been, it's fast paced, doesn't last long, and it's fun. I mean, I really, really enjoy it, and hopefully they'll have a heck of a year. I think they will. So that's why I follow softball. Let's see. There was a text here or Facebook Live. Where is it? Brian says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Excellent job by the boys last night. Played their hearts out. I agree 100%. Played really, really hard. Just didn't come down. So March 7th, when spring practice starts, I knew Dan Bond would come through. So that's not very far from now. Looking forward to it. Go watch a couple of practices and see what happens. But you can't tell a whole lot from spring ball. Nothing. Spring practice is terrible, quite honestly. I go back to my days of spring practice. We used to. This was back when West End was open, and they kept the lights on till midnight. So myself and about 6 other players, as soon as practice was over, we would sprint, because remember, we had to go across the O'Dome parking lot back down in the south end zone where our locker room was. We'd sprint from the practice field all the way across the parking lot. We wouldn't even shower. We'd change clothes and we'd drive as fast as we could to West End, and we would play golf at least 2 or 3 times a week until midnight. And they would shut the lights out at midnight. Sometimes you could be at the very back of the golf course, and you're talking about dark. But yeah, we would play as much as we could and as long as we could. We still went to class too, folks. Don't worry. I didn't go to class that much. I was lucky. I was in the business school, so they never checked if I went to class or not. I think I was the only athlete in the business school at that time. Let's get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This day all right, where is it? In 1888. 1888, the father of American golf, John Reed, first demonstrated golf on a Yonkers cow pasture to all his friends. So that was in 1888 on This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Tomorrow, JC will be back here. I'm trying to get a special guest. Don't want to tell you who it might be because we're trying to work it out. but it'd be a great program if it all works out. Andy says, do you remember your average stat line your high school senior year in basketball? It was not great, Andy. I played on a team that lost in the South State Championship. We went 33-5, lost to Chris Jackson, who was in our district 4 of those 5 times. But I will tell you real quick, I was the 6th man. Our starting lineup was a 7-footer, Antonio Harvey, who went to Georgia, played for the Lakers and the Blazers. 2 forwards were both 6'8". One went to UAB, one went to what's now called Louisiana Lafayette. 2 guards, Isaac Brown, who was the former coach he coached under John Pelfrey for a while, was a head coach at Wichita State, got fired. He went to Texas A&M, and then our other guard, Dale Brown, played at Kentucky. So they all play basketball. I played football, baseball, and basketball. So I'd miss the first 5 or 6, 7 basketball games because of football. I'd come. I was the 6th man, just shot threes. When they pressed, I would handle the ball. But we were loaded. We had Chris Jackson in our district. We had a guy named Laterrell Green who played at Georgia. And then we had a guy named Devin Booker. His dad he's the dad of the Booker that plays for the Phoenix Suns. So they were all in our district. High level basketball. So couldn't tell you my points. They weren't great because I didn't get to play as much as I would have liked, but I had a bunch of dudes that went on to play D1 and NBA basketball, so that's one. And then I'd go from basketball to baseball. Play it all, people. You got kids listening to the program, or you have grandkids or your own kids, play every sport you can. As long as you can, it will make you a better athlete. I promise you that. So thanks for asking, Andy. You were waiting for me to throw out there like 25 points a game. No, I could have played at a different high school, been a different story. But hard to break the lineup with that crew. And by the way, Chris Jackson was phenomenal in high school. I'll never forget when he came to the O'Connell Center my freshman year. I was telling people in the dining hall there in Yon Hall, I was like, all right, y'all getting ready to see one of the best players in America. He dropped 50 something on us that night in the O'Connell Center. So anyway, that's going to do it for today's program. Again, I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us. Apologize that Mike Ridaught wants to send his apologies too, but it's an AT&T deal. We'll get him back on probably next week and talk high school sports. Want to give some love to those kids because I love some high school sports, as y'all know. Have a great day out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.